Have you ever spent years giving everything to a job, only to be humiliated in front of everyone, for something you created? Yeah, that happened to me. 7 years. 7 years of missing birthdays, skipping holidays, pulling endless late nights, believing, foolishly, that loyalty meant something, that hard work would eventually be rewarded, that good people win. Turns out, life doesn't always work that way. My name's Michael Carter. I'm 36. A single dad, software engineer. Ordinary guy, nothing flashy. I live in a small 2-bedroom apartment on the edge of town with my daughter, Emily. She's 10, the absolute light of my life. Honestly, everything I've ever done, every sacrifice, every sleepless night, has been for her. I never wanted much. I wasn't trying to be the CEO. I didn't care about fancy titles or corner offices. All I ever wanted was a fair shot, a little respect, maybe even a pat on the back for once. But instead, I got this. It happened at my company's annual holiday party, a night that was supposed to be about celebrating success, honoring the team, raising a glass to the hard work we'd all done together. A night where, for the first time in a long time, I thought, maybe, just maybe, they'd finally recognize me. Maybe I wouldn't be invisible anymore. I couldn't have been more wrong. I should have seen it coming. There were little signs, you know. The way my manager stopped replying to my emails. The way meetings started happening without me. The way credit for my work started, shifting quietly, subtly, like watching someone steal furniture from your house one chair at a time until suddenly you wake up sleeping on the floor. But nothing prepared me for what happened that night, because that was the night my boss stood up in front of the entire company, pointed his champagne glass right at me, and made me the punchline to a joke I didn't know I was part of. And as if that wasn't enough, someone I never expected, grabbed the mics and flipped the entire room upside down. This is how it happened. And before I tell you the rest, do me a favor. If you've ever felt invisible, overlooked, or betrayed, hit that like button. Drop a comment and share your own story, because trust me, you're not alone. And if you don't want to miss more stories like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You're going to want to hear how this ends. You know, funny thing is, if you asked anyone at work who Michael Carter was, they'd probably just shrug and say, "Oh yeah, he's the quiet guy, the one who fixes things." That's pretty much how most people have seen me my whole life. Quiet, reliable, not flashy, not loud, just there, showing up, getting it done. I'm 36. Been a software engineer for most of my adult life. I didn't grow up rich, didn't have parents who handed me anything. Everything I've ever had, I built with my own hands or coded with my own fingers. I'm also a single dad. My daughter Emily, she's 10 now, smart as a whip, way too smart for her own good sometimes. And honestly, she's the reason I get out of bed every single morning. She's the reason I show up to a job that barely acknowledges I exist. She's the reason I take every hit and keep standing. Her mom? She left when Emily was 2. Said this life was too boring, too hard. Said I was too predictable. Guess she wanted someone with some excitement. So yeah, it's just been me and Emily for the last 8 years. Me figuring out how to be a dad, how to be a mom, how to be everything, all at once. My life isn't glamorous. I live in a small apartment on the edge of town. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, nothing fancy. Some of the furniture's second-hand. The TV's older than Emily. But it's ours. It's safe. It's warm. And on most nights, when I'm tucking her in and she looks up at me with those big brown eyes and says, "Love you, Dad," it feels like the richest life anyone could ask for. Work, though? Work's been complicated. I've been at this company for 7 years, and when I say I've given them everything, I mean everything. Stayed late, came in early, took projects no one else wanted, fixed disasters at 2 a.m., missed school plays, soccer games, birthday dinners, all because I believed that eventually they'd notice, that eventually it would pay off. But the thing about being the guy who always gets it done is that people start thinking you'll always get it done, quietly, without complaint, without recognition. You become part of the furniture, useful, but invisible. And deep down, I always hoped, maybe one day, they'd finally see me. Turns out, they did see me, just not the way I hoped. When I first got hired at this company, I honestly thought it was my big break. A mid-sized tech firm growing fast, lots of opportunities. They said all the right things in the interview. We're like a family here. Hard work gets noticed. We believe in rewarding loyalty. You know, all the usual corporate sweet talk. And at first it felt real. My manager, Tom, was friendly, supportive even. The CEO, Mark, he had that polished charm that makes you think you're part of something important. Like you matter, like you belong. And man, I bought into it. Fully. I was that guy who stayed late, just to make sure nothing fell through the cracks. The one who never said no when someone dumped a project on my desk last minute. The guy who fixed things nobody else even understood. There was this unspoken rule in the office. You had the loud ones, the ones who knew how to play the game. The ones who spent more time networking than working. And then you had the doers, the problem solvers, the workhorses. Guess which one I was? I wasn't flashy. I didn't schmooze at happy hours. I didn't hang out by the coffee machine pretending to care about who won the game last night. I was the guy behind the screen, making sure the systems didn't crash, making sure deadlines were met, making sure the company kept running. And for a while, that was enough for me. Because I believed what they told me, that if you worked hard, kept your head down and delivered, you'd move up, you'd get noticed, you'd be rewarded. Every performance review ended the same. Michael, you're critical to this team. You're one of our most reliable people. We couldn't do this without you. And every time I'd ask about a promotion, it was always just out of reach. Next quarter, we're restructuring. You're definitely on the list. The list, whatever that was. But here's the thing about always being the reliable one, the dependable one. People start assuming you don't need anything. No praise, no recognition, no advancement. Just keep doing what you do, quietly, invisibly. I watched others climb, the talkers, the ones who knew how to make themselves look important, the ones who sat in meetings repeating ideas someone else had already mentioned 5 minutes earlier, but louder, with more hand gestures. And somehow, they were the ones getting the credit. Meanwhile, I was the guy who fixed the bug that would have taken the entire platform down, the guy who stayed up until 3 a.m. rewriting code because someone else screwed it up. And still, I waited, I believed, because that's what good employees do, right? It became a cycle, a cruel, exhausting, soul-sucking cycle. Every few months I'd muster the courage to ask again. I'd sit down with my manager, Tom, the guy who always smiled just a little too wide, and I'd ask the question that felt like swallowing broken glass. So, where do we stand with the promotion we talked about? And like clockwork, the response was always, Michael, you are invaluable to this team, no one does what you do, but... There was always a but. But the budget's tight right now. But leadership wants to wait until next quarter. But we're reorganizing some teams. But don't worry, it's coming, you're at the top of the list. The list again, this mysterious, invisible list I'd apparently been on for, 2 years? 3? At first I believed it. I really did. I told myself, be patient, they see your work, they appreciate you, it's coming. And with every late night, every weekend I sacrificed, every birthday party I missed for Emily, I kept thinking, it's going to be worth it. But it wasn't just words anymore. I started noticing things. Subtle things. Invitations to meetings. Stopped. Projects I usually led suddenly being assigned to someone else. Updates on decisions. I wasn't getting them. My name. Left off email threads it should have been on. And then there was Jake. Jake was everything I wasn't. Loud. Charming. 28. Fresh out of business school. A master at saying a lot without actually saying anything. He had that way of walking into a room like he owned it, even though he'd only been at the company for a year. At first I didn't mind him. I figured, kid's ambitious, let him learn. But slowly, I started noticing a pattern. He started lingering around my desk, asking questions about my project. Hey man, just trying to learn the ropes, he'd say with that grin. I didn't think much of it. I was always the guy willing to help. Until he started bringing up ideas in meetings. My ideas. Concepts I'd developed, solutions I'd spent weeks refining, but he'd twist them just enough and dress them up, repackage them like they were his. And the worst part? People listened. They nodded. They smiled. They congratulated him. I sat there, invisible, watching the seeds I planted grow in someone else's garden. Still, I waited. I told myself, they'll see. They know who really did the work. But in reality, the only thing they saw was the guy who never complained. The guy who stayed quiet. The guy who'd never make waves. And that was the biggest mistake of my life. There's this thing that happens when you care too much. When you believe, truly believe, that if you just work hard enough, people will notice. That your effort, your sacrifice, will eventually matter. That's how I felt when I came up with the project. It wasn't just another piece of code. This was big, massive even. A solution that could literally save the company millions. For months, we'd been dealing with a major problem in our core platform: customer churn, system failures, inefficiencies that were bleeding money. Everyone knew it. Nobody had a real solution. Until I figured it out. I spent weeks buried in data, running simulations, staying up until 3, 4, sometimes 5 in the morning. Not because anyone asked me to, not because there was a bonus waiting, but because I cared. Because deep down, I still believed that if I could fix this, if I could be the guy who saved the day, they'd finally see me. And I did it. I built a framework, an automation system that could optimize our back-end processes, reduce server load by over 60%, and cut operational costs by nearly 40%. It wasn't just a patch, it was a transformation, a real, tangible solution. I still remember the day I presented it to my manager, Tom. I walked into his office, nervous but proud, showed him the demo, explained the metrics, showed him the potential savings. His eyes lit up. He leaned back in his chair and smiled. "Michael, this is incredible." For a moment, I believed it. I believed I'd finally done it. This would be the thing that changed everything. Tom patted my shoulder. "Let me take this upstairs. Don't worry. You're gonna get credit for this. This is career-defining stuff." I walked out of that office, floating. I picked up Emily from school that day with the biggest grin on my face, took her out for ice cream, told her, "Big things are coming, kiddo." She smiled back and said, "Told you, Dad. You're the smartest person I know." I wanted so badly for her to be right. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't have possibly known, was that the second I left that office, the clock started ticking. Because while I thought I'd just built the thing that would finally lift me up, someone else saw it as their chance to step on me and climb. At first, it was subtle. So subtle that part of me kept telling myself I was imagining things. A week after that meeting with Tom, I started noticing Jake hanging around the executive floor more than usual, not just passing by, no. He was in and out of offices, laughing, shaking hands, the kind of body language you only see from someone who knows they're safe in the room, someone who belongs. I brushed it off. He's probably working on something else, I told myself. Focus on your job, don't be paranoid. But then, there were the meetings, the ones I normally led, the same meetings where we discussed back-end infrastructure, systems optimization, failure protocols. Suddenly I wasn't invited, didn't even get the calendar invites. The meetings just happened, without me. I asked Tom about it once. His response, "Oh, must have been an oversight. Don't worry, Mike, nothing major. Jake's just helping us with some high-level strategy. You focus on the technical side." High-level strategy, right. Then it got worse. I walked past one of the glass conference rooms one day and saw Jake, standing at the front, presenting, on a slide deck, my charts, my data, my solution, my framework, everything I had built over months of lost sleep. And there he was, pointing at it like it was his idea, smiling that plastic smile, executives nodding, impressed. The CEO even clapped at one point. I watched from the hallway, frozen, like someone had hit me square in the chest with a baseball bat. I wanted to believe. Maybe he was just giving me credit inside the room. Maybe this was just some misunderstanding. But the next day, an email went out to the entire company, from the CEO himself. Subject line, "Celebrating Innovation." The body of the email was worse than any nightmare I could have written for myself. It praised Jake for his groundbreaking work on the optimization project that will redefine our future. His name, mentioned 6 times. Mine? Not once. I sat there, staring at the screen, numb. My hands were literally shaking. I read the email 5 times. I even scrolled down to see if maybe there was a footnote, a mention, a thank you. Nothing. Just gone. Like I never existed. Like the last 6 months of my life had been quietly deleted. I remember Emily walking into my home office that night. "Hey, Dad, why do you look so sad?" she asked. I swallowed hard, managed a fake smile. "Just tired, baby, just tired." But inside, something broke, something deep, something that doesn't fix easy. And even then, I had no idea how much worse it was about to get. I told myself, there has to be a mistake. There has to be. I mean, surely someone realized what happened. Surely someone noticed the glaring hole in the story. The guy who spent months building this thing just vanished from the narrative. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I scheduled a meeting with Tom, walked into his office, shut the door behind me, sat down, took a deep breath. "Hey, Tom, we need to talk." At first he did that thing, fake smile, hands steepled together like he was on some kind of TED Talk stage. "Michael, buddy, what's going on?" I didn't dance around it, didn't sugarcoat it. I told him straight. "I saw the email, I saw the presentation, that was my project, you know it. You know it better than anyone. So what's going on?" For a second, just a second, his face shifted. Something flickered behind his eyes. Guilt, shame, maybe. Or maybe just the realization that the lie was about to become harder to maintain. Then he leaned back, sighed, and hit me with it. "Look, Mike, no one's questioning your contribution. Everyone knows you're essential. You're the glue that holds the team together. Here it comes, I'm the but. But leadership's looking for a different kind of profile for the next level. Someone more dynamic. Someone who can really represent the company. You're incredibly valuable, but..." There it was, the dagger. "But you're not really leadership material." I swear, I felt my ears ring, my hands went cold, my mouth went dry. I sat there, blinking, trying to process what I had just heard. Not leadership material. After everything, after the late nights, the weekends, the crisis I pulled them out of, more times than I could count. He kept going, like he was reading from some corporate rejection script. "You know how it is, Mike. It's about presence, about visibility. Jake's been doing a great job stepping up in that space. You're more of the behind-the-scenes guy, the engine. And we need engines. We really do. An engine." That's what I was to them. Not a person. Not a contributor. Not someone with ambition or dreams, just a machine. Useful. Disposable. I remember staring at him, mouth half open, words stuck somewhere between anger and disbelief. "So, what now?" I finally managed to ask. Tom gave me that condescending smile. "Look, buddy, nothing changes. You've still got a job, a good job, and there's always next year, right?" He chuckled like it was a joke, like my entire career, my dignity, my future, was some punchline only he understood. I stood up, didn't shake his hand, didn't say goodbye, just walked out of that office, fists clenched, heart pounding, jaw tight. And as I sat in my car afterward, staring blankly at the dashboard, I thought about Emily, about every sacrifice, every bedtime story cut short, every weekend missed. I thought about how I was going to walk through the door that night, look her in the eye, and pretend everything was okay. But something shifted in me that day, something snapped, because if they thought I was just going to swallow this smile, nod, and get back to work like nothing happened, they were about to learn something very different. Oh, so very different. And hey, before I tell you how it all went down, if this story is hitting something deep in you, if you've ever been overlooked, disrespected, or passed over for something you know you earned, hit that like button, drop a comment below. Let me know I'm not alone in this, and if you want to hear how this ends, subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss what's coming next. A few weeks passed, and let me tell you, showing up to work after that conversation with Tom felt like dragging myself through wet cement every single day. But I did it, because that's what you do when you've got a kid at home depending on you. You keep going, you swallow it, you pretend, you show up. Then, one afternoon, an email popped into my inbox. Subject line, "Your invited annual company celebration." I stared at it, didn't even open it right away. Just sat there, looking at the words, feeling that knot in my stomach start to twist tighter. A part of me wanted to delete it, pretend I never saw it, stay home, watch cartoons with Emily, eat pizza on the couch, forget the whole thing. But then, Emily found the invitation. She walked into my home office later that evening, saw it open on my screen, and her eyes lit up. A party? Like a real party? With food and music and stuff? I nodded half-heartedly. Yeah, it's just a work thing. She smiled so big. You have to go, Dad. They're probably going to give you an award or something. You said you helped fix the big problem, right? This is probably them finally saying thank you. And hearing that, hearing her believe in me like that, it hit me in a place nothing else could. Because no matter how many times this company made me feel invisible, my daughter saw me. She saw everything. So I told her, you know what? You're right. We'll go. I went out, got my suit dry cleaned, bought Emily a little dress, the kind with the sparkly belt she'd been asking for months. She was so excited she could barely sit still, practicing her smile in the mirror, twirling around the living room, and, deep down, yeah, a small stupid part of me still hoped that maybe, just maybe, this would be the night they finally acknowledged everything. Maybe the speeches would include my name. Maybe someone would stand on that stage and say, "We see you, Michael, we appreciate you." Even after everything, and even after the betrayal, some ridiculous part of me still wanted to believe. And so, on the night of the party, I buttoned my shirt, adjusted my tie, tied Emily's shoes, and walked into that venue, not knowing, not having a single clue, that this would be the night everything burned to the ground. Walking into that venue felt like stepping into someone else's world. It was one of those downtown rooftop places, the kind with glass walls, chandeliers dangling from ceilings way too high, and waiters floating around with tiny plates of food no one can pronounce, but everyone pretends to love. Jazz music played softly in the background, and every corner sparkled like a magazine cover. Emily's eyes went huge. "Dad, it's like a movie." She squeezed my hand tighter, grinning from ear to ear. "Do you think they'll have cake?" I smiled, forcing it. "Yeah, baby. I'm sure they will." I didn't have the heart to tell her my stomach was already twisting into knots, because the second we stepped through those doors, I felt it. You know that feeling? When you walk into a room and instantly realize you don't belong? Yeah, that. People glanced over. Some smiled politely. Others didn't. You could almost hear it in their heads. "Oh, he came." The kind of smile that never touches the eyes. "Jake?" Oh, he was in his element, floating from group to group like a politician at a fundraiser. Handshakes, laughter, claps on the back. His suit was sharper than a scalpel. His hair perfect. His grin even more perfect. And me. I was the ghost. The guy everyone knew was there, but no one really wanted to talk to. We found our table. Table 12. Way in the back. Near the kitchen doors. Far from the stage, far from the executives, far from the spotlight. Of course, I tried to brush it off, tried to make it fun for Emily. "Hey, look, we get to sit right next to the dessert table." She giggled, and for a moment, yeah, it felt okay. The room slowly filled. Laughter, clinking glasses, the hum of small talk. The CEO, Mark, stood near the stage holding court like a king in his castle. Tom was next to him, smiling, nodding at everything. Jake stood just a few feet away, sipping champagne, basking in all the attention. I sat there, quietly, watching, and as much as I wanted to ignore it, I could feel it. The distance, the divide, like there was an invisible velvet rope that separated them from me. No matter how much work I'd done, no matter how many problems I'd solved, no matter how many times I'd kept this company from falling apart, I was still just the guy in the back. Emily tugged my sleeve. "Dad, when do the speeches start?" I checked my watch. "Soon." My voice barely came out, and as the lights dimmed and the CEO started making his way toward the microphone, I had no idea, absolutely no idea, that I was about to become the headline act of a joke I never signed up for. The lights dimmed, glasses clinked, conversations softened into whispers as the CEO, Mark, stepped onto the stage with that signature grin he always wore, half charm, half calculation. Good evening, everyone. He started, raising his champagne glass. What a year it's been. The crowd applauded, smiles everywhere. People leaned forward like they were about to hear the greatest story ever told. But for me, my stomach tightened, my pulse quickened. I gripped the edge of the table, forcing a smile for Emily, who was absolutely beaming, eyes glued to the stage. This company, it's not just about products, it's about people, about dedication, about those who go above and beyond. I felt my chest tighten. Maybe this is it, I told myself. Maybe they're about to acknowledge it. Maybe they'll say my name. This year, we faced challenges, big ones. But thanks to innovation, collaboration, and leadership, we turned it around. Emily nudged me. Dad, he's talking about you. Her voice was pure excitement. My heart cracked a little hearing it. Mark continued. There are people in this company who exemplify what it means to be adaptable, flexible, resilient. Some lead from the front, some lead from behind the scenes. The pause, the shift in tone, the smirk. Of course, he chuckled, glancing across the room. Not everyone is built to be a leader. Some folks are just really good at sitting quietly behind a keyboard. The room laughed. It wasn't loud. Not yet. It was the polite kind. The kind where people glance at each other, trying to figure out if it's okay to laugh. Mark chuckled again. I mean, come on, we all know that person, right? Brilliant at coding. I said not exactly management material. The laughter grew, a little sharper, a little less polite. Glasses clinked, smirks spread across faces. My face burned, my hands clenched. I forced a tight smile, glanced at Emily. Her brows furrowed, confusion written all over her. Why did they say that, Dad? She whispered. I couldn't answer. I couldn't breathe. Mark kept going, like none of this meant anything. But hey, every ship needs someone down in the engine room, right? Someone who keeps the lights on while the captains steer. A few people laughed way too hard at that. Jake? Oh, he laughed the hardest, sitting there, one leg crossed over the other, soaking it in. And then the applause started. Hollow, awkward, but real. I wanted to sink into the floor. I wanted to grab Emily, walk out, never look back. But I didn't. Not yet. Because the worst part, the part that would change everything, hadn't even happened yet. I kept telling myself, it's just a joke, just let it slide, just laugh it off. But the thing about humiliation is that when it's dressed up as humor, it cuts even deeper. Because it's not just a joke, it's permission. Permission for everyone in that room to laugh at you. Permission to turn your years of work, your sacrifices, your dignity into entertainment. And it wasn't over. Mark tapped his champagne glass again, smiling like a man who had just told the funniest joke at the country club. But seriously, he said, voice lowering into something more dramatic, this year, we have someone truly special to recognize. Emily squeezed my hand. It's you, Dad. I know it's you. I wanted so badly to believe her. Mark continued. Someone who embodies innovation, forward thinking, and the ability to lead this company into the future. I sat up straighter, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. A person who took on one of the biggest challenges we've ever faced and delivered a solution that not only saved us, but positioned us for the best year we've ever had. For one single stupid second, I believed it. Everyone, please join me in congratulating Jake for his incredible work on the optimization project. The room exploded in applause, loud, proud, unapologetic. People stood, some whistled, glasses raised. Cameras flashed. I sat there, frozen. Jake stood, flashing that movie star grin, buttoned his suit jacket like a politician on election night, and walked to the stage. My stage, my work, my solution. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, could barely breathe. Emily turned to me, her smile fading. Wait, but, Dad, wasn't that your project? Her little voice, that crack in it, broke something in me that I don't think has ever fully healed. On stage, Jake grabbed the mic. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone. This was truly a team effort. He smiled, glancing across the room. But sometimes You have to step up. You have to lead. You have to see the bigger picture. I wanted to scream. I wanted to stand up. I wanted to shout, "That's mine, that's my work, that's my blood, my sweat, my sacrifice." But all I did was sit there, frozen, watching the life I built. The thing I believed would finally change everything, get handed to someone else, while everyone I worked beside yada clapped. Not for me, never for me. And in that moment, something inside me snapped, not in the loud, angry way, no, in the quiet way, the dangerous way, the way where a man finally realizes that being silent doesn't protect you. It only guarantees that no one will ever hear you scream. I swear, I don't even remember how long I sat there. Time just folded in on itself. The sound of clapping, laughter, champagne glasses clinking. It all faded into this numb, hollow buzz in my ears. Jake kept talking about innovation, about vision, about seeing opportunities others miss. And every single word, every syllable, was a lie wearing my clothes. Then came the worst part. Mark smiled, stepped forward, and handed Jake this glass trophy. Sleek, expensive, engraved, Innovator of the Year. Jake held it up, grinning like he'd just won an Oscar. Cameras flashed. People stood, cheered. The CFO shook his hand. The head of marketing clapped him on the back like he'd just cured cancer. And me? I was still at table 12, back near the kitchen, next to the drafty side door. Invisible. Emily tugged my sleeve, her little voice trembling. "Dad, why didn't they say your name?" I couldn't answer. I physically couldn't. My throat had locked. My jaw clenched so tight it felt like it would snap. But it wasn't just the trophy. It wasn't just the speech. It was everything after. People started coming up to Jake, congratulating him. "Brilliant work, man. Total game changer. This company's lucky to have you." And right there, not 2 feet away, Jake glanced at me, made eye contact, smirked. That smirk, like he knew exactly what he'd done. And worse, like he knew there was nothing I could do about it. Tom walked past me, didn't even look my way. Not a glance, not a nod, nothing. The message was clear, crystal clear. You don't matter here. You never did. You never will. Emily, bless her heart, still tried to salvage it. Maybe they just forgot, Dad. Maybe they'll do another award. For you, for the real work. I nodded, forcing a smile so fake it hurt. Yeah, maybe. But inside, something was boiling. Slow, quiet, dangerous. Because what they didn't realize, what none of them realized, is that when you spend your whole life swallowing injustice, biting your tongue, and being the quiet one in the back, one day and you stop being quiet, and the storm starts to rise. The applause finally died down, but the ringing in my ears didn't. I sat there, staring at the half-eaten dessert in front of me like it could somehow ground me. Like if I focused hard enough on the swirl of cheap chocolate sauce, I could pretend I wasn't sitting in the middle of the biggest betrayal of my life. But then, something shifted. A sound, or rather, the absence of sound, the murmurs, stopped. The laughter stopped. Even the clinking of glasses faded, like someone had hit the mute button on the entire room. I looked up, and that's when I saw him. Daniel, the COO, the guy who barely spoke at any event, the guy whose job was to stay in the shadows behind spreadsheets and boardroom doors, serious, quiet, always watching. He stood up, slow, deliberate. His chair, scraping against the polished floor, sent a sound through the room sharper than any microphone. Every head turned. Even Jake mid-laugh froze, his smile stiffening. Daniel didn't head toward the stage. No, he didn't even glance at Mark. He didn't look at Jake. He didn't look at Tom. His eyes went straight to me, straight to table 12. For a second I thought, what is happening? Why is he looking at me? And then he reached for something, a microphone. Not the one on stage, no. The handheld one the DJ had been using earlier for announcements. Daniel picked it up, tapped it once. The speakers cracked to life. "Excuse me." His voice wasn't loud, wasn't angry, but it had that tone, that weight, the kind that makes people straighten their backs without even realizing it. The entire room froze. Mark shifted uncomfortably, glancing toward Daniel like, What are you doing?" Tom's fake smile cracked. "Jake?" "Oh." Jake turned pale. Daniel didn't blink, didn't stutter, didn't hesitate. He raised the mic, looked straight at me, straight at Emily, and then scanned the room. "I wasn't planning to speak tonight," he began, calm, controlled, almost too calm. "But after what I just witnessed, I can't stay silent." You could have heard a pin drop. The waiters froze mid-step. Conversations died. Even the jazz music in the background, I cut. Daniel continued, his voice steady, but sharper now. "There's something all of you need to know." A ripple, a shift in the air, a collective inhale, the feeling that something was coming, something no one expected. And trust me, it was. But hey, before I tell you what happened next, do me a favor. If you've ever been in a room where you were overlooked, dismissed, or humiliated, hit that like button. Leave a comment. Tell me your story. And if you're not already subscribed, now's the time, because what's about to happen, you do not want to miss it. Daniel stood there, holding the mic like it weighed more than the trophy Jake was still clutching. His face, it wasn't angry. It wasn't flustered. It was disappointed. Deeply, visibly disappointed. He let the silence hang for a moment, long enough for it to suffocate the air out of the room. Then he spoke. "I've worked at this company for 15 years. I've seen a lot. Some good, some not so good." His eyes scanned the room, pausing just long enough to let everyone squirm. "But tonight," he continued, "I saw something that crosses a line I cannot ignore." Mark shifted in his chair, laughing nervously. "Daniel, let's not—" Daniel raised a hand, didn't even look at him, just silenced him with a gesture. That was power. "No, Mark, we are going to have this conversation, right now, in front of everyone." The oxygen got sucked straight out of the room. Daniel's voice didn't rise, it didn't need to. Every word landed like a brick. "Some of you may not know this, but over the last 6 months there was a project, a critical one. One that frankly kept this company afloat when things were circling the drain." People nodded. Everyone knew exactly which project he meant. The project that was just celebrated on this stage. All eyes flicked to Jake. His face, white. Hands gripping the glass trophy like it was the only thing keeping him from sinking through the floor. Daniel stepped forward. "And there's someone in this room who spent months, building that solution, running the numbers, writing the code, testing, failing, testing again, sleepless nights, missed weekends, time away from family, all because he believed in this company." My heart slammed against my ribs. Emily squeezed my hand so tight I thought my fingers might break. Daniel turned and looked directly at me. "And that person is not the man holding that trophy." The room gasped, audible, sharp. Someone dropped a fork. Another person actually whispered, "No way," like this was some Netflix drama playing out in real time. Jake shifted in his seat. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Daniel didn't stop. "I've seen the emails, the project logs, the commit history, the documentation, the presentations. Every single line of work was created by Michael Carter." Dead silence, the kind that weighs on your chest like concrete. Michael, who sat quietly at the back of this room tonight, while his work, his contribution, his years of loyalty were erased in front of all of you. I felt my throat close. I didn't know whether to cry or stand, or just collapse. Daniel kept going, his voice colder now. "And let's be clear, this wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was theft, plain and simple." Mark stood, trying to intervene. "Daniel, we can discuss this later, privately." "No, Mark, no. We do this now, right here, right in front of every single person who sat here, clapped and laughed." The shame in the room was physical, palpable. You could taste it. Daniel looked around one more time. "I won't be part of a company that rewards deception, that mocks the people who keep it standing, that allows this kind of disgusting, cowardly behavior." And then his eyes locked back on me. "Michael, you deserved better than this." And that was just the beginning. Daniel didn't stop. He wasn't just pulling back the curtain. He was tearing it down, burning it, and throwing the ashes in the faces of everyone who sat there pretending they didn't see. Let's talk facts. His voice was sharp now, unapologetic. Michael drafted the initial proposal on January 9th. I saw it. I signed off on it. He submitted version 1 of the framework on January 24th, version 2 on February 14th. 3 more iterations followed, all coded, documented, and presented by him. He turned his gaze toward Mark and Tom. You both sat in those meetings. You both approved it, and yet, when it came time for recognition, for reward, for basic decency, his words cut like a scalpel. You handed it to someone who did nothing but package Michael's work in a prettier slide deck. Jake sat stiff, his hands gripping the trophy like a drowning man grips a lifeline, his face blank, hollow, pale. And don't bother denying it, Daniel continued, because I have the emails, I have the Slack messages, I have the file histories. Every single timecode was pushed, every version, every document, all with Michael Carter's name. Jake's name. He paused. Not once. Not even once. Murmurs filled the room. Heads shook. Some people looked down at their hands. Others whispered to each other like this was the first time they were seeing the truth. But deep down, I knew. Some of them always knew. Daniel turned toward the rest of the crowd. I've watched for years as this company pretends to celebrate innovation, but only if it comes from the loudest voice in the room, only if it comes from someone who plays the game. But real work, real contribution, it gets shoved into the shadows. People like Michael are the backbone of this company. And what do they get? Humiliated, erased, mocked. Mark tried again, stumbling forward. Daniel, please, we can resolve this internally. Daniel spun on him, sharper than a whip. Internally? Like how you resolved the last 2 times this happened? Yeah, I know about those too. A loud gasp broke from the back of the room. Even the DJ looked up from his laptop, frozen. This is a pattern, Daniel snapped. And tonight, it ends. He walked toward Jake, slowly, every step heavier than the last. Jake. His voice dropped. Cold. Calculated. You have exactly 2 choices. You can stand up, right now, and admit what you did. Or, he held up his phone. I hit send. To the entire company. To every client, every partner, full documentation, full receipts, everything. Jake's face crumbled. His jaw worked like he was trying to form words, but couldn't find any. Silence. Suffocating. Brutal. Unforgiving. Then, slowly, Jake stood. His hand trembled. The trophy shook, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't, it wasn't, no sentence, no defense, just noise. Daniel didn't flinch. Say it. Jake swallowed. His eyes darted around the room, looking for an escape that didn't exist. It wasn't my work. His voice cracked. It was Michael's, all of it. Gasps, more murmurs. A few people actually clapped, not loud, not mocking, just stunned. Like, finally, someone said it. Jake dropped the trophy. The sound of it hitting the marble floor echoed like a gunshot. Daniel nodded, calm, controlled. That's what I thought. He turned back to me, locked eyes. Michael, I'm sorry. You deserved better. And then he dropped the real bomb. As for me, I won't be part of this anymore. He pulled something from his jacket. A letter, folded, crisp, clean. This is my resignation, effective immediately. He walked over to the stage, dropped it on the podium, looked straight at Mark. Good luck holding this together. And with that, he set the mic down and walked out. The room was frozen, the kind of silence that feels like the air itself has stopped moving. No one clapped, no one cheered. The usual post-speech buzz, the toasts, the backslapping, the selfies, were nowhere to be found. It was like someone had pulled the rug from under the entire company. Mark sat there, stunned, his smile completely wiped away. Tom looked like he wanted to disappear through the floor. Jake? Well, Jake looked like a ghost, pale and defeated. I sat there holding Emily's hand tightly, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Vindication. Not loud, not angry, not dramatic, just quiet, solid, undeniable. No one came up to me. No one apologized. No one said, "You deserved better." But I didn't need it. Because that night, I left that party with my head held high, with my daughter smiling up at me, with my dignity intact, and with something far more powerful than any award, my truth finally heard. On the drive home, Emily leaned over and whispered, "Dad, you won," even if they didn't say it. And she was right. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to fight. I didn't need to make a scene. Because sometimes, the quietest moments carry the loudest victories. Since that night, things at work have changed. Slowly but surely. People look at me differently. Respect doesn't come from empty promises or hollow applause. It comes from standing your ground, from knowing your worth even when no one else does. Jake. He left the company shortly after. No grand announcements. Just disappeared like the shadow he was. Daniel? He's now running his own startup, building a culture that actually values people like me. And me? I'm still here, still working hard. But this time, I'm no longer invisible. And Emily? Well, she's my reminder every day that no matter how dark the night, the morning always comes. If you've ever felt overlooked, betrayed, or silenced, remember this. Your story matters. Your work matters. And sometimes, justice doesn't come with a bang. It comes with a steady, unshakable truth. Thanks for listening to my story. If it moved you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below. And if you want more stories that remind us what real strength looks like, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Because sometimes the best revenge is just walking away with your head held high.